Recording, and let me welcome Jonah on. So let's welcome up the writer, director, producer of
Oh,
Dating in New York, Jonah Feingold. Welcome.
Alex Ago, it is fantastic to see you, my friend.
How's it going?
It's good. I'm just setting you up here on my Zoom. Close this. Okay. Boom. Can you see me? Can you hear me okay? Can you see me okay?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely. You're
fantastic.
in a very professional setup, much better than mine.
It's just,
Um,
this is how we do it when we have to edit movies during the pandemic. We got to make sure that people can hear us and all that jazz.
I just have to make sure that I turn on the captions because someone mentioned that I forgot to do that. Live transcript.
Perfect.
Okay, so if someone wants to add captions, it is now turned on. And I also just want to make sure that everyone can see. Yeah, okay, so you're following the host view. Sorry, as we're back in theaters, I'm still doing virtual events to take advantage of filmmakers who aren't in Los Angeles, but I'm getting rusty. So if it's if there are some settings that I've forgotten, just make sure to keep me on my keep me honest and let me know in the Q&A box. Which, by the way, everyone out there watching, if you have questions tonight, just write them up in the Q&A box, and when we open this up, I'll call on you and I'll welcome you over as a panelist so that you can ask your question face to face to Jonah.
Wow.
Yes, it's
We love
very
that.
exciting. So this is so exciting. Congratulations. I saw your movie at Tribeca, and I'm very excited to present it here today.
Oh, wow.
I wish we could have you here in person, but it's nice to be able to do this virtually.
100%. This is a dream for all USC alumni to be able to speak with you about our movies. So this is great. I'm in New York. It's 10:33. I have a martini. Hope that's okay. Shout out
Nice.
martinis, which are great drinks, and just excited to be talking about the film. Thanks for hosting it.
For sure. Um, so I know in your bio how important When Harry Met Sally was in your sort of development of becoming a cinephile. So tell us a little bit about your passion for romantic comedies and how that played into wanting to write one.
Absolutely. I think that I loved rom-coms just because my parents, like, who I think my dad is actually on this. So hello to John Feingold. Um, I I became obsessed with rom-coms very early on after sort of the initial run of the movies that inspire us. My film that I talk about way too much is a film called Hook, which
Oh
there's a
yeah.
poster behind me. Yeah, we've been here. We've been down the Hook path together. And I entered USC as a student who wanted to make like what the next Wedding Crashers, and I think the next night the museum, and these really broad studio movies. And that was like my identity as a student. And even earlier, I just loved like New York love stories. When Harry Met Sally, You've Got Mail, 27 Dresses, The Proposal. I love all those kind of films because the rom-com genre, much like every other genre, is one that as a filmmaker you can still bend the rules. I mean, you can still have a magical press conference in a rom-com, and you can still have moments of sort of drama and play within the bounds of the genre as a director. And it's exciting because it's going to be funny, it's going to be romantic, and it's I think a lot of filmmakers don't necessarily want to jump into the rom-com genre, which also helped because it's hard to find your voice as a director these days. So jumping into a genre that's not necessarily overcrowded was something that I was cognizant of.
I'm curious. Maybe you have a particular perspective on this since you embrace it, but like thrillers, I'm curious how cell phones impact the development of the rom-com because, all of a sudden, I feel like once the cell phone becomes ubiquitous, we
Hmm.
start to see a little bit of a decline in romantic comedies. I don't know if that's just because, there's something about like I don't know, like the fact that everyone's on their phones all the times. It's sort of like the date. I mean, you embrace it. You write it directly into the script with all of the dating apps, but also like having the phone out at the table and making fun of what a date is these days, or even just the fact that like the date itself is like an old fashioned concept
Yeah.
because of dating apps. Um, and I'm curious if you what your thoughts are in terms of the relationship between the cell phone and dating apps and romantic comedies as a genre.
Yeah, I think this is the beauty of an indie movie where we were our only bosses. I didn't have to report to a studio executive when I wanted to do a scene that, the I miss you text, which is in some ways the climax of this film. I didn't have to get that approved by anybody. And I think when you go to an executive and say, I want to make a movie and half of it's sort of on iPhone screens and it's about the minutia of an Instagram grid, they'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? And that's not like, there's no timelessness to that, which by the way, I disagree with. I think there is a timelessness to a text message sequence.
Mm,
In the same way that You've Got Mail is a timeless film that opens up on AOL.com.
right.
So yeah, I think modern dating, so much of it is on our phone. We couldn't ignore that. I wanted to get that sensation across to our audience of when you receive an I miss you. And you can say so much about what your character is when they type something, but then delete it and then send something else. And, quick shout out to, alumni class 2013, my good friend Anish, who
Oh yeah,
made,
sure.
made a film entirely on a computer screen. And so, we definitely spoke in early cuts of this movie and said, all right, well, let's take the thriller element away and figure out, I was like, do you think it's a smart idea if I just go on screen and zoom in? He was like, yeah, dude, because that's exactly what we did. And it worked perfectly, which again, the beauty of the USC connection here is that you need to lean on your friends who are in your production classes. And that relationship goes all the way after graduation.
Yeah, that's such a good comparison, like the things that are unique to the format of the phone become elements that didn't exist before in the way that you're telling the story. So that's really cool. Um, so I guess I wonder if as I'm older, the characters in your film just seem really young, or
Sure.
how old were Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan?
Well,
I
you,
mean, is it or are these characters actually much younger than what would have been a Tom Cruise Meg Ryan or
yeah.
Billy Crystal Meg Ryan? You know, and maybe it is just that I've now rounded 40 and everyone seems like they're 12.
Oh my gosh, first off, you look 27, so I don't know what you're talking about. I thought you were still a student. I You're absolutely right. You go back and you look at those classic rom-coms and Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan. I actually think Meg Ryan, I believe I looked this up once, she might have been 28 or 29.
Hmm.
Billy Crystal was older. I don't know, maybe 38. But those characters, you see their life. You see them in college, you see them right out of college because they originally meet after graduating, I think from Chicago University. They're driving from Chicago to New York and they're older. That's certainly true. Our characters are a little more millennial. In the original script, Wendy is much older than Milo. She's, I think, 30 and he's like 25.
Okay.
Ultimately, towards the beauty of casting, the beauty of your movie coming to life, you change things. So her character is probably a year or two older than him. In real life, I believe Francesca is 27 and Jaboukie is probably 26, maybe 27 as well. But yeah, in our world, they're 26, 27. They're sort of in that phase of dating still sucks and they don't know what they're looking for. And they're just navigating the chaos of it all. And they don't necessarily want to get married, but they also don't want to be alone.
Hmm. Well, tell us about finding them because I think I remember Francesca from Stranger Things.
Yes.
But it's
Yeah.
great to see two very talented young actors, and also the other couple were really, really funny, and I loved just seeing a whole brand new cast of very talented young actors. So
Yeah. And again, another amazing thing about indie filmmaking is that you can sit down across from someone like Jaboukie Young White and say, you should play the lead of this movie. And I don't have to go get financier approval or studio approval. You can cast the people that you see on Instagram, on Twitter, in indie movies and say, I want you to play the lead. So finding the cast, Jaboukie Young White, many of you probably know him from Twitter or The Daily Show. I saw him in a clip from a movie called Someone Great on Netflix, and I thought his scene was incredible. I thought he just had such a presence. And I was like, okay, that guy is a movie star. How do I get him to be in my movie? I wrote him a letter. We contacted his representation. We had tacos and tequila. We fell in love over our passion for movies like Francis Ha. And I was like, yo, I'm going to be making a movie. We're going to be shooting for 15 days. It's going to be cold. It's going to be quick. It's not going to be glorious. You're going to sit on an Apple box sometimes, but I'm going to fucking finish it. It's going to be fun. And I'm going to make you look great. And we're going to learn from each other. And he was like, I'm in. And it was a matter of being transparent with my intention, much like dating, and having a plan that I think helped in that case. So we had a start date and we had our budget.
Mm.
So actors, by the way, fun little tip here for getting actors to be in your movie, the closer to your start date, the better, in my opinion, because you're basically saying you're in or you're out. And actors like to take their time to figure out if they're going to do your movie or not. Um, Francesca, I saw in Stranger Things, same thing. I thought she was a scene stealer, wrote her a letter, FaceTimed her from Central Park in New York City saying, hey, it's fall. It's going to be awesome. Do you want to do this movie with me? She was like, yes, but let's talk about this character. And she was very much, how do we make Wendy, Wendy obviously is coming into this situation saying, I don't want a relationship. And that's new. I think that's new in rom-coms. I think that's new for her sort of character. And we wanted to figure out how to make that person still come off very likable. So very lucky that I got to work with her. And then Kat Cohen and Brian, Kat Cohen, I got sent through my casting directors. Her and I met for drinks at this place called Fairfax in the West Village. Funny enough, Kat Cohen is telling me about these two different men that she's seen, and she's sort of telling me about her dating life. And I'm like, well, this one guy that you're telling me about who really likes you, who lives in the Upper West Side, who like cares about you, I feel like you should go with him. And again, I just met her, but like that was the connection we instantly had. She was like, okay, cool. So we part ways and I'm going home and I'm in like a taxi cab. I get a FaceTime from my friend Brian, who I hadn't talked to in like 10 years because I knew him from high school. And Brian's like, yo, dude. And I'm like, oh, what's up, Brian? And he pans over and it's Kat Cohen. And this was the guy that she was telling me about at the drinks. And I'm like, oh my God, you're the Brian she was talking about. And, I was like, do you want to audition for this movie? He's a very talented actor. He auditions. He's perfect. I asked Kat, hey, is it cool if I cast your sort of, early on situationship as your love interest? And she was like, I would love that. And that's how we got those core four.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are they still together?
They are still together. They're better than ever. I think it's going to work out for them. I take full credit and hopefully get invited to that wedding.
Wow. What happened to the other guy?
I I don't know. I should ask Kat that on some sort of Q&A and put her on the spot for that.
Um, I have a couple of uh, specific questions of things that just really made me laugh. The first one is when he just walks when he just walks away when he finds out that the girl at the bar has a boyfriend. Is that a specific event that's happened or that you've participated in? Um,
Yes. Well, the moment when he walks away from Taylor Hill, Victoria's Secret model.
Yes.
And no, I've never done that. It's sort of, and this is like a weird, when you're out with your friends and let's say, when no matter what gender you are, you're out with friends, you see someone of interest, you go over, you're talking to them for 10, 15 minutes. And then they, it's clearly flirting. And then they're like, I have a partner. You're like, well, then why didn't you tell me that? Why didn't you sort of give me that heads up? And so I do have a friend who shall remain nameless, who was like just on a cold streak and like walked away from the person they were talking to. And that's where that came from.
The other thing that I really enjoyed was that Francesca plays like the doppelganger.
Yes.
That's just fantastic. Where did that come from?
That came from the fact that I have so many friends who they're like, I'm dating a new person. And I'm like, cool. Like, let me see a pic. And they look like the exact person they dated before. Like,
Mm.
the class, like literally just a mirror image. And I'm like, you realize that this person you're now seeing looks like your ex, right? They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. So in that scene, we took it literally and we said, let's have Francesca play both roles. So this guy is literally dating the person who looks exactly like Francesca.
So with romantic comedies, it is a genre that, for it to, I think, with most really effective genre films, there is still a structure that you play
Mhm.
around with, but, the satisfaction does come from it following to some extent certain beats that, everyone is kind of gets some satisfaction out of. So tell us a little bit about some of the things that you deliberately wanted and some of the things you deliberately wanted to move away from.
Absolutely. So there's two major ones. I wanted to move away from this sort of idea that in rom-coms, two protagonists typically hate each other.
Mm,
And I understand retroactively why that is the case, because it's great conflict. It's, you know, my next film explores a critic and a cook, a food critic and a cook. So they're it inherently at ends. Um, you have movies like, 27 Dresses, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, these ridiculous sort of setups that allow for great conflict, and like eventually you want your audience to be like, these two people need to be together, and the further apart you can make them feel for most of the movie, the better. So I wanted to avoid that because I didn't feel like that was real. I don't think I knew any relationship amongst any of my friends, maybe occasionally, but like for the most part, it was never, yeah, we hate each other, then we started dating. It was typically, oh, we like ghosted each other and then we reached out over Thanksgiving or cuffing season, which is happening right now. And we got back together and we went on a couple dates and we caught up and now we're together. And so that's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to make a movie where the meet cute is literally the moment where they match on the app.
mhm.
And it's as simple as that. They swipe right. That's how we're here. And they kiss and it goes great. And then they kind of ghost each other. But like that was the part I really wanted to get into was it's not supposed to be elaborate. It's just this modern way of two people connecting versus what traditional sort of studio rom-coms I think typically give us.
Mm. Um, there's there's also always that moment in romantic comedies where the couple has to sort of split apart before they can come back together, and it's always a sort of a convention that you sort of understand you have to go through in order to get the satisfaction of the coming back together at the end. But is it hard to write? I mean, what sort of things did you sort of go through? Um, were there? I mean, tell us a little bit about the process of getting to that moment.
Yeah, well, I'm really bad at making bad things happen to my characters. I'm a person who is avoidant of conflict. I don't want conflict. You guys watch the movie. You know that I don't like conflict. I mean, and I don't want bad things to happen to my characters. I want my characters to miss each other and think that they made a mistake. And the way that you have to really do it, truth be told, in uh, the original script is not necessarily what the movie ended up being in terms of that sort of second act to third act moment. But in our evolution of the film, it was, it was making these two characters be with other people. And I think that that's sometimes the part that I'm really happy, this truth that we nailed, where it's when you're with other people romantically that you start to remember that person that you did like. So
Mhm.
you see Francesca's character talking with Alex Moffat, amazing SNL actor,
Mhm.
and he's kind of Mr. Finance guy. He's way too grown up, but he's kind of a douchebag. And you see Jaboukie talking to Ava Victor, who's a superstar, by the way, and she's on the subway and she just doesn't like his shtick, you know. And he's like, "Well, I talked to me and your mom are friends, and that doesn't matter to her." And it's sort of when you're with other people that you remember the people that do matter,
Mm.
and that's what our process was for this one. That's what I wanted to show the audience. And then, of course, using New York as a character, which is cliche but true, and having Francesca revisit that location that they had that great moment where they're talking about couples that are breaking up.
Mm. That scene on the subway is fantastic. Again, some sort of personal experience or
That one, yeah, that one 100%. I have that's we weren't going to a John Mayer concert, but we were on the subway and there was a conversation to this extent. And it's a really weird place to try to break up with someone because you're kind of trapped. So
yeah.
it's like, why? And you have to time it out with the stops. Do you get out mid conversation when you know what the intention was, or do you try to save it? And I just thought it happened to me, and I've seen breakups in the couple, couples break up on the subway. And I
Mm.
was like, this is, and by the way, that I'm going to be doing that in every movie. There's going to be some sort of subway breakup, but I think it's just a great place for highly timely things to happen.
Would you recommend that aspiring writers be keeping a sort of journal of these kinds of moments, or as they happen, or are they better as sort of memories that you can sort of like reflect back on and kind of what's the right word? Just sort of like embellish as time has gone by.
I think that that's a that's a good, I think it depends on what kind of writer you are. I'm the kind of writer where if something happens, I got the notes app, I have it right, in my phone, and I hear a line, I hear a moment, I put it in there. Half the time I forget to check it, but simply by the act of writing it down, I will like subconsciously put it into a script,
Mm.
or I'll pin the note to get specific. Like I'll pin the note, I'll have a whole thing where it's like my next film, it's called The Bar Downstairs. So like I have a note that says The Bar Downstairs, and anytime something happens or I see a location or a word is said or a movie is suggested, it goes into that note. And then anytime I'm on, in final draft, I'll open up that note and revisit and see, oh, did I add this in yet? Or do I want to ignore it? So I think it is actually productive to write this stuff down, because you'll never know when it will come back up, subconsciously or in your next like work session.
15 days seems like an incredibly quick amount of time to shoot an entire feature, but it sounds to me like you were very prepared. Um, I mean, to tell us a little bit about the things that you did to, I guess, maximize the time that you were going to have.
Yeah. Mentally prepared and physically prepared, yes. And 15 days is, I wouldn't suggest it. I think that the general rule of thumb for New York filmmaking is you want to have as many shooting days as locations, not more locations. So we had like 22 locations in 15 days, which is, this is all like stupid stuff. I mean, what's the first day of production where they say don't shoot with water, kids, and fire? Like, is that
And
what Joe Wallenstein says?
animals.
Yeah, animals. And I remember my 310, we did kids. My 480, we had kids, we had fire. We always just broke those rules, but that was sort of the exciting thing. I wanted to be overly ambitious. I also wanted to make the movie, so I was going to do whatever it took. To do 15 days, you need to have certain locations that will double as other locations. You need to know exactly what you want in each scene. You need to be prepared to not do like 55 takes like David Fincher. You need to have a crew that's very excited to be there. In our particular case, our crew was a amazing group of like-minded creatives in New York who I had a great line producer, a great DP. They had come from the indie world, therefore they knew how to move at the indie pace. And they also own part of the movie. So the financing situation was such that 50% of the pool of this film is going to my crew, my
Oh,
AD, my
wow.
editor, my production designer. They all own part of the movie. And so when you all have skin in this thing, you can kind of move quick. It's not fun. I'm like, I wish I had more time, but that's the next movie. And I think it's for the reasons that we didn't have time, a lot of the beautiful moments that came out of the movie exist. And, Jaws famously had no time. And I mean, they had 28 days, but look at that movie. So it's possible. You just gotta know what you want and not like dawdle.
That is a really cool uh, way of making a film. How is that becoming a sort of standard within indie filmmaking?
I don't know if it's standard, but it was something where because the movie came together very entrepreneurially,
Mhm.
like me and a partner raised the money ourselves. We went out to 300 people and 33 people said yes. Um, then we structured it so that the investors, and this is going to get deep cut niche film school, like BA side, but this is, I think, important. Um, Basically, we did it so that our investors get 25% on their return initially back after the movie hopefully finds a home, which ours did with IFC. And then after you surpass 25% past the budget, it splits into a 50-50 waterfall between the creative side and the financier side. So now they're splitting with my actors, my DP, my AD, my editor, anyone who I could give a point to or multiple points to help in addition to their compensation, their day rate. Um, and I love that model. And I think that I would love to be able to do that on every film, but obviously I don't think you can tell Netflix that you want to do that. I mean, maybe, but I don't know.
I'm seeing that we have some questions coming in, so let me just remind everyone that what I'm going to do is bring you over so that you can turn on your camera and ask your question live. I'm going to bring everyone over all at once, but call on you individually just so that we save some time because it takes a minute to get everyone over. So Mahima, Grant, Matthew, Anna, I'm going to move you guys over, and then when I see you, I'll call on you. But keep your camera off until I call on you. All right, so let me just go ahead and set that up. Assuming that, sorry, I guess I do need to make sure that they're still here. And I'm actually
We
seeing
love technology.
Mahima is not here, but I do like the question. How
Okay.
tall are you in real life?
Wow, fantastic question. Fantastic question. I don't know why you would be asking that. And it's as if there's a moment in the film where my height is revealed. I'll tell you what, chat, everyone can put in their answers and then I'll tell you. But I'm trying to get the chat going. So you can type out how tall you think I am.
Wait. The chat isn't active. Hold on. Let me turn it on. I usually keep the chat off, but let me see. There we go. Okay, the chat is on.
Here's what's gonna happen. If you guess it right and you tell a friend to watch our movie, I will send you a signed poster. And you guess my height right.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay, wait a second. Okay, chat's blowing up. Hold on. Okay, I'm gonna wait till I answer the question, so everyone has to stay for the Q&A, but I'll wait to pick the winner after.
Okay, all right. I am 5'11" and a half, Kyle. 6 with shoes. Okay, so all right, Grant, if you're on our side, feel free to turn on your video. Hey. And unmute. Yeah, there you go.
By the way, everyone, this is the composer of Dating in New York. He's here now. This is fellow USC alumni, Grant Fonda.
I'm just popping in to represent USC fam. And my only question, which I know the answer to, but I thought it'd be fun for other people here, is Hook or You've Got Mail?
Oh my God. Grant Fonda, composer of Dating in New York, putting us on the spot here. I think given my current mindset, because it's fall in New York City, You've Got Mail.
Wow. Yep, there it is.
You?
Oh, Hook, for sure.
Okay.
Because it's not fall in Los Angeles. It's 100 degrees.
Well, everyone, this is the amazing composer of Dating in New York, also fellow USC alumni. Hire him for all your movies.
Hire Jonah Feingold to write anything you want. Yeah, you, seriously, love you, man. There's some great questions, I'm sure. So I want to pop it over, but just wanted to pop in and say go Trojans. And it's a fun family.
Nice. Thanks, Grant.
Yep.
All right, Matthew, we'll go out to you. Oh, you got unmute.
He's on mute. Oh no, still on mute.
Here, let me ask you to unmute, see if that helps.
Oh no.
I can't do it for you. There you go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Hey, Jonah, what's up? It's Matt.
Matt, great to see you. Fellow USC 2013 production alumni, also fellow Alfie Gold Award-winning filmmaker.
Yeah, so we actually lost. Anish was in our group. We were second place. But
oh no.
Yeah, Jonah, my question for you is, so we go to USC in 2009. That's kind of pre-Instagram. That's kind of pre-dating apps. Facebook was really the main thing we all communicated on. And I'd love to kind of hear your journey on, since all that has happened, with social media, dating apps, how that's kind of influenced you personally, and also clearly this film and kind of the journey you've been on. Has Instagram, changed dating apps? Have they changed relationships for the better, for the worse? Are we ever going back? And I just love to hear your thoughts on that.
It's a great question and great to see you. My thoughts on that is that, I'm curious what people in the USC community are using these days. When I was at USC, Tinder had just been released. We had just had Bumble, Hinge, and I came up in this generation where in our generation, we had non-dating apps and then we had dating apps. We had it when it wasn't cool to be on them and then when it was cool to be on them. My general theory on dating apps, having made a movie about modern dating and formerly hosted a podcast for Hinge, shout out that from my past, is that any app can be a dating app. Venmo can be a dating app. Instagram DM should be a dating app. if you're inviting it, if you're private and you don't want that, don't invite that. But I think technology, and this is my take as of right now today, like bumping into someone at the grocery store can be just as romantic as meeting someone in the comments section of the infatuation. So I think that was something that we really wanted to channel, was that there is this digital world of romance, and that, yeah, any app can be romantic if you make it.
Thank you, Jonah.
Thanks, Matt. Great to see you.
Okay, our next one is from Anna.
Hello, thanks for joining us. So I'm curious, nice to meet you too. I'm curious about like, how was your process to getting the script, and when did you feel like it was ready? Because I understand sometimes you have to improvise when you're actually in production, and some things change along the way. So how was your process?
That's an awesome question. So for the students and screenwriting, I don't know what the mix up is, like screen and production or whatever, but this I think is like that's a really great question. And I want to say that I've had a script that I've been working on since 2013 when I graduated from USC. I have that script. I worked on it for 5 years with a writing partner I met at USC. Shout out Taylor Siegel, former alumni as well. And we worked super long and hard on making that movie and trying to get it made, and nothing really happened, and maybe one day it will. And I've written maybe 20 feature-length scripts in my life. And for this one, I sort of woke up one day and said, I need to write something that I can go make, something that's going to cost not that much money, that I can use locations I know, that can be a strength of mine, that like I know how to direct a diner scene, and I know what I could do to reinvent the way that we break up with each other on our phones. And it was more like set ourselves up to succeed type script. So to be completely honest, the script was sort of a culmination of moments and scenes that I had put into prior films. And I was like, cool, I'm just going to make the greatest hits of like what I've learned to do as a filmmaker under the context of a fairly familiar premise, friends with benefits. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here. I'm trying to tell the story in a different way. And to be exact, I think 3 months for a couple drafts. And then you have your draft that has the beautiful prose. But then that draft needs to go to your AD and your line producer. And your AD and line producer are going to say, Jonah, you have half a page of like commentary on your high school romance named Betsy that has nothing to do with the movie, but just like the reader's experience. And we need to take that out so that we can actually line this thing out day by day. So then you have the new draft, and the new draft is your production draft, where it's just what you're going to need, bare bones. It's not, there's no magic in it. It's okay, this location, it's 3/8 of a page. And so, I would say total, it was 3 months. And then I was always adapting towards the actors. To be honest, I would say it's 70% scripted, 30% improv. And which I think with Kat Cohen, particularly, she really brought her own voice to the beginning and end of everything she would say. And I would tell her what we needed to hit, whether that was a line or an intention. Jaboukie, by the way, everyone listening, if you work with a comedian, have 2 cameras running. We couldn't afford 2 cameras, but when you shoot comedians, directing wise or producing wise, you're going to want 2 cameras so you can get them in the close up and the wide. And you're going to want, or if you're doing 2 of them at the same time, so you don't have to go redo that improv. And I would say, yeah, it was a combination. It was like 70-30. And ultimately, though, the script was like never done. We were rewriting on the spot. We wanted when Alex Mofat came in, I said, let's go to the back room and let me hear you say the words. I'll have final draft open and we'll do what you want to do. And it was really fun, though. It's very liberating to be the writer director, where you can just go do it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Of course. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
All right, let's go out to Will. Will, are you out there? Hey, there he is.
There I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Jonah, it's Will Ford Conway. Another
Class
USC.
class 2014 here in the house. Let's go. A lot of big alumni in this Zoom, guys.
How are you doing?
I'm good. It's great to see you, man.
Yeah, it's good to see you, and congrats on the film.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm really happy you got to see it.
Absolutely. So biggest question, the thing that stood out for me when watching it, you're probably not going to be surprised that I'm going to bring this up. Two things. It's kind of like a 1.5 parter, but the serious question being that clearly, especially knowing you got a Peter Pan love and a little bit of an influence there. And specifically, what I enjoyed about watching this, or the little nod that you did at the beginning with the opening credits, and reminded me a lot of the original Disney Peter Pan, and a lot like just like the portraits and the paintings and everything, a lot of those early Disney films. So I just wanted to hear just about like kind of like what your history and inspiration and your love for Peter Pan, and maybe by extension all those other kind of like Disney animated influences are. And then the half question is Dante Bosco going to have some sort of mention or role in all of your films? Is he the John Ratzenberger to Pixar of all of your films going forward?
Well, I love that question. I'll go backwards real quick. Yes, he will be. Dante Basco, who is Prince Zuko, also Rufio in the film Hook. Funny enough, he was present for our day of shooting in Washington Square Park. He called me while I was mid-take. Yo, I'm in New York. By the way, he's the best person in the world. I'm in New York. Where are you at? And I'm like, I'm on set directing my first feature. He goes, no way. Where are you? I go, Washington Square Park. He goes, no way, I'm here. He comes into Video Village. And here's, by the way, you guys all know now that Hook is my favorite movie. Dante plays a character named Rufio, who's the coolest character of all time. And I have my idol behind me, sort of like, got his arm around me, being like, it's going to work out, man. It's going to be okay. So he will be a part of whatever I make in every capacity, as will my friends. Shout out to my friend Jeremy Middleman, who's a really talented writer and producer who's in here tonight, who plays the screenwriter guy in that scene with the press conference. And I think that's important. Always put your friends and your creative collaborators in your films. Anish is also in the movie, 2013 alumni. So talking about the opening title credits and Peter Pan, yes, I am a fan of the movie Hook and Peter Pan. I think deep down, I'm deeply afraid of growing up, and more so, I'm just deeply afraid of losing that childlike sense of wonder that I think all of us share if we're in this Zoom or if we're at film school. That's how you make movies, because movies are just magic and impossible, and like it's a stupid career choice, but we all believe in it. And that, I think, is rooted in the idea of never growing up. We all have that one movie that made us want to become a filmmaker. And more particular to the opening credit sequence, which were designed by an artist named Katie Woodward, also known as the Rambling Sketcher on Instagram. It was twofold. One, I really love Cinderella, 101 Dalmatians, Snow White. I love the way those movies would open. And I wanted the audience to sit through the opening credits and see who worked on the movie. And I wanted people to know the locations before we were there. So Grant Fonda, the composer that you saw earlier, he wrote an original song called Night Serenade that plays. That's all original. And those designs, which are actually behind me right there, those are the locations we shot at. And there are little Easter eggs in there about what's going to happen. And I wanted to open up with a nostalgic quality, but then go right into a digital moment where we go onto the phone screen. So yeah, it was supposed to sort of honor the Disney films of the 1950s, but also one other really funny confession that stays between all of us is that we couldn't shoot B-roll because we didn't have the budget and because everyone was wearing masks. And so it was going to look weird. So we drew our B-roll, and that's also perhaps the real answer.
Well, it definitely worked out.
Thanks, man.
Congrats again.
Thank you, dude. Great to see you.
Good to see you too.
All right, let's go out to Sutton.
Hey, I'm Jake, actually.
Oh.
But thank you so much, Jonah, for doing this. Love the movie.
Thanks, man.
My question is, I'm currently editing a very, very low budget feature. And so I'm just interested in what your process was like from like the second you finished editing your film to where you are now, and how like just kind of how you navigated even like knowing which festivals you should submit to, and everything beyond that sort of thing, and the whole post process.
Well, congrats on that indie feature. That sounds fantastic. Great question. So we edited partially during like early pandemic, then everything got crazy. So we tested remotely. We did ADR, score, sound mix, color mix, all remotely. We cut the film, I'd say over the course of a couple months, because it's an indie, it's like our hours were weird. Nothing was like easy. We didn't have a post coordinator, which is hell. By the way, most important position on a movie ever is post coordinator. Who knew? I should have known that after 480, but I didn't, and we didn't have one. So that was my and my editor's job. But this is where it gets a little more interesting, is that you want to apply to those festivals. So we certainly targeted festivals. Once we had a cut, we were very happy with. Some people send in their cut, like when it's like just scenes, and I respect that. I was going to be one of those people who I was like, look, I'm so scared of festivals. I've never been given like rewarded anything from our industry. I want to present my best foot forward. So we presented like nearly a final cut to 2 or 3 festivals. We got into Tribeca. And by the way, I say that we had to wait 8 months to find out. In fact, what you're looking at right over here is the letter that I wrote to Tribeca Film Festival. And you can see it's sort of sun-stained. I printed it out. I scanned it. You all can see this. Dear Tribeca Film Festival, I kept it in a book of Nora Ephron as good luck because I'm insane. And I like prayed to the film gods. And we got in, but that took 8 months of waiting and silence and nothing. And it might not have worked out. But you have to have that patience, because trust me, I called my producers on Valentine's Day, of this Valentine's Day. I said, yo, let's release this movie. Everyone's at home. Let's just put this thing out there. After we got into a film festival, I should mention that we had sales agents on board. So sales agents can come in and they can represent your movie, and they'll take 10% of the price that they sell your film for. You don't need them. They can be helpful, but you do not need them. And once we had the festival, they used that as a catalyst to call the buyers, and they sent out a link for 48 hours where people could watch the film and put an offer in. And that's how our process went. Is that what you meant with your question, or do you mean more the minutia of post-production, like scoring, all that stuff?
No, that was exactly what I meant. I also wanted to know, like, so like in that process where you're just kind of like waiting for 8 months, like, did you try and connect with people at the film festivals, like with Tribeca, or was it just like kind of submit what you got and just kind of lay low?
I think you 100% need to make a personal effort. It's the same way that we all got into USC in some capacity. Like we wrote a great cover letter. We made a short film. When I applied to USC, you didn't make a movie, you just wrote stuff, which I don't know how to read or write, so that was difficult. And I wrote them a letter. I figured out who the programmer was. I don't know if they've ever read the letter, but like I sent it to them as a PDF. I said, this is an amazing festival. Enclosed is my cover letter. And you can do that on Film Freeway and stuff. But I would encourage everyone to reach out if you can. And even if you're going to say, don't make it like, you can be like, hey, I would love to get coffee and hear about the festival. I have a film that was submitted. I hope you guys take a look at it. That's totally okay. And you don't need to make it about your movie. You can say, I'm a big fan of the festival. I would love to learn more about the process. And that goes for everything. Like you don't want to force a programmer to program your movie because you might come off in the wrong way. But I think you 100% want to make some sort of personal touch, whether it's a letter, a cold email. They might not respond, but at least you tried.
Thank you so much. Very
Good luck with the movie. Yeah, keep me posted how that goes. That's exciting.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so just one last thing, and then we can find out your height.
Cool.
So what was the inspiration for the scene telling the stories of the curls?
Yes, the curls, the billionaire. That was the direction there was, I want you guys to act like no one has been, you've been alone for like an hour. And then Jaboukie made that up on improv. And so, but I like to think that do it as if you've been alone for an hour, led them to this comfort zone of twirling the curl and you cut over to Brian's character who's like, what are these two talking about? And I think Brian's reaction, just his face is so perfect there. But yeah, that was not actually, that line was not written. That was Jaboukie Young White being the genius that he is.
All right, so who's the big winner?
Here we go. So I'm going to look at the chat, and it is, of course, going to be in order. Now, now I have everyone's attention, because this is important to me as well. I had this written down as something I've always wanted to do when I came back to USC. I want to just give some parting words that I will get to the answer, because it's all related. Is that okay?
Oh, be my guest. I can't wait.
So one, I just want to give some parting piece of advice that I wish someone had told me when I was a student at USC, that when you go to make your first movie, everything is going to be okay. It's going to work out. Your movie is going to get made and it will be good. And what I mean specifically is don't stress so much about it not happening. Stress about making it as great as it can be. And think down the line, think down the process of once the movie's done, how will it live? What will its impact be? How am I going to talk about it to press? How am I going to talk about it when I come back to USC? Because reflecting on that can actually help in your script and help you figure out your story. So what I also want to say is that my advice would be to blindly support your fellow filmmakers. If you haven't seen their movie, tell people you loved it. If you have seen it, you didn't like it, you fucking loved it. If you did love it, you tell them you loved it. It only helps you to support other indie filmmakers. I see this with the relationships I have with my peers, Anish and Taylor. And the more you help bring each other up and support each other blindly without doubt, the better things happen. That's what I'm going to say. I would also love that if you enjoyed the movie tonight, to tell your friends about it, to tweet about it, Instagram about it, reach out to me. If you have Letterboxd, 5 stars, whatever. But just tell someone that you saw it. That's all I would ask in return. In return of me asking you that, I'm going to actually drop my email, because I think this was also like a very mysterious thing. If you want to talk about anything having to do with like filmmaking or the process, I was in everyone's shoes here very recently, and I had to find someone's email, and it was always like difficult to do, but I would love to help you guys as much as I can, if I can. So I'll drop my email, send me a note, we can chat. I'm here to help however I can be. That all being said, it's time to announce the official height. And I do have to do it in order of who said it first. And again, you will win a signed Dating in New York poster. And the winner is, wow, first guest from Caroline, 5'8". I am 5'8". First guest off the bat, Caroline, congratulations. You've won a signed poster of Dating in New York. And I am 5'8". That's correct.
Well done. I guess so wait, you're going to put your email address in here?
Yeah, I'm going to put I have the chat. Let me know if this works here. Jonah Feingold. First of all, everyone, verbally, my email is just my name, Jonah Feingold, FEINGOLD @gmail.com. But I also just dropped it in the chat if everyone can see that.
Perfect.
But yeah, I'll need Caroline's information, however we confidentially want to do that, to send you the poster for your
Caroline,
amazing.
You can just send Jonah an email directly now, right?
Oh yeah, perfect. Yeah, Caroline, send me an email if you're still here. The official winner. Oh, perfect. Congratulations. I mean, how'd you get 5'8"? I'm gonna have to ask you about that one.
I mean, I would assume because that's his height in the isn't that the joke that he goes 5'8", then to 5'11", then back to 5'8"?
Well, no, because I think, not to go deep cut here, but I think they're referring to the scene where Mort, who says he's 6'2", who's played by my biological clone, claims to be 6'2". But does he say he's 5'8"? No, I don't remember. But
and we're gonna need a signed poster as well.
I was gonna say how do I get? Can we make that happen? Can we get in the SCA building?
This is what I'm here for.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Cool.
We'll chat about this one offline, but yes.
Okay.
Let's make that happen.
I would love that.
Excellent. Thank you so much. This was so much fun. And hopefully on the next one we'll be able to do this in person.
I would love that. Alex, this means more to me than you could possibly know, although I'm sure you've had alumni back and I'm sure you hear this all the time, but this is what makes this awesome. And I will never forget Ryan Coogler coming in with like Creed and being like, I was there 2 years ago. Like I was like, and I started crying for him.
Oh, that was a wild night. Stallone showed up.
I know Stallone showed up. That was a crazy that was a crazy night. But no, I really appreciate you taking the time to show the movie, and thank you to everyone who stuck around and was here. Please shoot me an email. Let me know how I can be helpful to you. Please support the movie. Tell people about it. Tell people to go rent it. It comes out in 40 minutes on iTunes and in theaters. I Pick Theater in LA if you want to go on a date, or the Look Cinemas in Glendale as well.
Fantastic. Congratulations. Oh, and I totally endorse that iPick. The limitless popcorn and blankets. I mean,
it's amazing.
Yeah, that's a cool theater.
Get a martini yourself, get some chicken fingers. They have everything there.
Congrats, Jonah. And
Thanks,
yeah, good luck with the opening.
Thanks. Great to see you. Goodbye, USC. Fight on.
Good night.